call due to WebEx and in person, so we are transparent about who's all joining us. Thank you.
Pat Peckham,
Here.
Michael Martins,
Here.
Tom Killian,
Here.
Tom Neal,
Here.
Jim Waditsky, Becky McElhaney, Lisa Rasmussen, Alder Rasmussen,
Yes, I'm here.
Sarah Watson, Don Herbst, Alder Herbst, Lou Larson,
Here.
Deb Ryan.
She was,
I see Don. Alder Herbst, can you hear me? Alder Herbst?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, great.
okay, we have 10 members present. I'm not sure what the other, I talked to Deb today and she said she was coming. I don't know, she might be running late. But we want to start since we have everyone here. First of all, thank you everyone for coming on such short notice. I understand that this was called within a week, but due to we usually, just to give some background to the new people, what we usually do right at when a new term starts is we start it's what we call is a retreat. And what that is that we all come in an evening together, join and have a small meal down in the lunchroom downstairs, and we have brief presentations by all the department heads, giving general information, sometimes some ongoing, or some updates on ongoing projects that we will be discussing and voting on later in the term. And we then also get together as a group and talk about priorities, or what our priorities would be that we would like to address in the coming term. Due to the COVID and all of the restrictions, that just isn't possible. And since the election and everyone being installed, I've talked to the mayor and to others, veteran members, and we discussed what should we do? Should we wait? Should we go ahead with something? And it was our feeling that we needed to go ahead and at least do the general presentations, legal overview of what our responsibilities are according to quorums and other open meeting laws, and to get some updates so when these things come before you, you have an idea. This is agendized as a presentation type only. We are a quorum right now, so we cannot go and have extensive discussions into items that are going to be voted on later. The public does not know about that. So what we're going to try to do is just have like a general overview. Please, if you have questions, jot them down. And as I told you in emails previous, you are very welcome and encouraged to contact the department heads and their staff that they may point you to get those questions answered. That is what the information that you need. It's just that we're not going to have that discussion here. I'd like to start out with a little something, is that when I accepted this position as president, I kind of said, I made a little speech and I said, everything is done. We all decided to join as a council member because we have a passion for this community and for what it stands for, and we want to bring our community forward. We want to have, we want to make it better. And there is no one that I have worked with in the last 4 years that does not have that goal. Now, getting to that goal doesn't mean we all may have the same path, or we may not all decide that the same thing is important to us, and that's okay. I expect everyone to bring their passion. That's okay, that's great, but I do want to remind everybody that I really would like to keep the quorum going, and remember that we are representing the city of Wausau, and we're representing all of our residents, and we want to make sure that we treat everybody with respect if they agree with us or not, and that we listen intently to each other's viewpoints, and you can decide not to agree. That's great. Don't vote the same way that you don't want somebody else. That's great. But I just want to make sure that both staff and other council members are all treated with respect and decorum. So with that, I thought we could, I don't know, where were we going to start? Is there a department head that wants to start? Oh, I see, I have somebody. Mary Ann Grote will start first. Thank you.
I'll be short and sweet. So, my department is the finance department. We like to call ourselves the customer service department because we're really a melding of finance and the statutory responsibilities of the city treasurer and the city clerk. And so we were this big group of people, and we were trying to figure out, well, what we all had in common, and we realized customer service was what we had in common, and so that's what we like to call ourselves, the customer service department. So we do a wide variety of things under the state statutes for the city clerk responsibilities, and of course Leslie is the city clerk. We do elections, we do licensing, like pet licenses, liquor licenses, bartender licenses. The city clerk is the official record keeper for the council, so that includes resolutions, contracts, things like that. And we have electronic imaging system that we use to accomplish that responsibility. From the treasurer's perspective, in the statutes, we are responsible for issuing the tax bills and collecting all of the funds for the city. And that requires us to manage a number of accounts receivable systems. So that would be the municipal court fines, utility billing, taxes, general collections that we do, like the airport, hangar leases, any of the leases in the city. We do parking tickets. We issue all of the invoices for monthly parking permits. So there's a wide variety of things, and the customer service staff that sit at the front counter are very knowledgeable about a lot of the rules. They answer phones, they answer questions that the constituents have that are, like who has the best pizza in town, to why your hot water isn't working, and we have to explain to them the hot water doesn't come from the water plant, it comes from your hot water heater in your basement. So they get a lot of different telephone calls. We manage all of the accounting for the city, so that includes payroll for the employees, like I said, the utility billing, all of the financial accounting records. We do manage some of the insurance policies. We do the financial planning for the tax increment districts and our outstanding debt, investments. We have FTE of 11.84 because we have 3 part-time customer service people. So some of them work mornings till 12:30, and then some of them come in right before the lunch hour, so that we get some overlap during that lunch hour, and we're able to expand our workforce during heavy work demands like tax collection and elections. We do try to put a lot of documents on our website, on the city's website, under finance. So you'll find old budgets, financial statements going back to 2006, room tax information, capital projects information. So we really welcome you to, and a lot of information on the tax increment district. So we welcome you to go to that and look. We are all interested in helping you find information if you need it. You're welcome to come in. I have, some council members who go through the budget book and then they put little stickies on it and they come and they sit and we go through the stickies together. Really, no question is too large or too small, so we, welcome any of those questions. So that's it.
Any questions on WebEx? Okay, thanks. Thank you. Next. Mr. Lindman.
I put some hard copies up, if anybody's interested, and then I emailed these out earlier today. If you just kind of want to follow through, give me a few minutes to go through this. It's a pretty quick overview, thanks, Leslie, of the Department of Public Works and Utilities. And so we have actually 6 divisions under the department. And so we have a wide range of classifications in the department, and our employees are housed at 4 separate locations. Our 6 different divisions are engineering, GIS, or the Geographic Information System, streets and maintenance, inspections and zoning, parking, and water and sewer. Our personnel and budgets, like I said, we have many different job classifications within the department with the different divisions. And so, and we have 101 full-time staff. Majority of those are down at streets and water and sewer. So there's a breakdown in the handout and that I provided for you for those. We also, as Mary Ann talked about, down in finance, they do a lot of our financing, or all the financing actually, for the utility, and the clerical people also assist the utility with scheduling appointments for meter changeouts and taking calls and those types of things for the water and sewer. So we're thankful that, they are busy, and at certain times they do get a lot of phone calls for the utility. Budgets, these are just some typical annual budget costs for you to just kind of see what we operate with on an annual basis. Just kind of going through each of the divisions. So engineering, we do infrastructure design, planning, development of infrastructure, construction management, administration is really a lot of what we do. Everything from streets to anything within the right-of-way, trails, anything really that's being built or maintained within the city is usually coming out of engineering, or at least they're touching it anyway. So if you have questions on construction projects, if you have questions on what's happening in the city, if you're not quite sure who to call, send me an email or give me a call. Happy to track that down for you at any time. GIS, the Geographic Information System, is the mapping information that we have with the city. It's very extensive. We see the pretty maps and stuff, but behind that, there's a lot of information, whether it's zoning or the types of housing, whether they're rental houses, whether it's a low to moderate income area, the different districts we have, the wards we have. And so if you're curious about areas in your district, and how they're categorized or what information for zoning or anything like that, a lot of that information is in GIS, and we can plot those out for you. So just give us a call. We'd be happy to do that and work with you on that. Streets and maintenance, that's probably your most visible. We're out on the streets all the time with the trucks. They're maintaining the streets, they're cutting curbs, they're digging things, they're snow plowing, they're sweeping, they're collecting leaves in the fall. All that's done down at streets and managed through them. So if you have any issues with any of that, any stormwater or anything, please let us know. Inspections and zoning, they deal with all of the permits, all of the inspections for new builds, rebuilds, any development that's coming in the city. They also have 2 property inspectors. Any issues with property maintenance in your districts that you have, typically call inspections or myself. We'll route those complaints. So we get those frequently from citizens, whether it's the grass is too tall, whether they have a fence that's falling down, and anything in between. So parking, probably the smallest division, but parking is a big deal in the city, especially in the downtown. And so it is partnered with finance. Mary Ann at Finance, they really handle a lot of the agreements with the downtown parking partners that we have. DPW really maintains all of the parking and the infrastructure and those types of things. So we partner with that. And it really is important for us on the parking with the revenue that we take in. So that's a big part to try to keep that maintained. The last division, and I'd separate this out typically with Wausau Waterworks, is just because it's funded through an enterprise fund through user rates. It's not part of the levy, and so it's easy to just kind of separate that out. So there's some typical information that we have for the water and wastewater, the distribution piping, collection piping, our storage facilities, our supply wells that we have on the water side, and the treatment facility that we have. And same thing on the wastewater with our lift stations. And we do take and treat wastewater from the city of Schofield. So they maintain their entire collection system on their own, but their wastewater, it's all collected and it's pumped to the city of Wausau, and we treat it and charge them appropriately for that. So, and we've had agreement with them for a number of decades for that. I welcome any of you if you're interested in any or all of the facilities. Happy to set up tours to walk through them. And the staff is excellent. They'll take you into all the ins and outs, the little nooks and crannies of each of the facilities if you're interested. They'll set up ride-alongs for you for snow plowing. Street sweeping, whatever you want to do. So anything that interests you, just let us know and we'll make accommodations and make it happen.
Any questions on that? No.
Thank you.
Hello, Rick.
Hello. I'm Rick Rubo. I'm your city assessor. I'm the department head for the assessment department. The assessment department has 6 staff, including myself. I have 1 commercial appraiser, 3 regular property appraisers, and a technician. We control or value 16,186 parcels. That's how many parcels we have in the city of Wausau. And the 2019 total assessed value was $2.8 billion worth of assessed value. We also assess for the city of Schofield with the contract with them. And the city of Schofield has approximately almost 1,100 parcels, and they are at $216 million in value. Everything that the assessor does, or the assessment department does, is monitored by the Department of Revenue, and we are controlled by state statute under Chapter 70 and the Property Assessment Manual, case law, and the Wisconsin Constitution. Everything in regards to those documents instruct how the assessor is to conduct assessments in the state of Wisconsin. There's in a non-reval year, we're looking at sales of that happen in the city of Wausau. We have to validate them for if they're arm's length or not, and report them to the Department of Revenue. It's these sales that the Department of Revenue also tracks to help, and they do this for every municipality, and they track these for the main reason is equalization. That is to find out how well or where your assessments sit. Because in one given year, and like for the city of Wausau's case, in 2015, we did a revaluation. Our job at that point was to bring property values to 100% of market value. Now that's basically the baseline on where properties are where they stop, other than new construction and things that change in a maintenance year. Myself, or our department, and the Department of Revenue, we also we track and follow the sales or follow the market that is occurring. And by state law, we are to have our assessments within 100% of market value, and they do allow a 10% leeway. So we can have our assessments at 110% of market value or 90% of market value. Anything beyond that then is a trigger for the Department of Revenue to start watching and saying, hey, you're out of compliance with statute, and that should be gearing up to be doing a revaluation and bring property values back to 100%. We are doing that for the 2020 assessment year. So this is the year that we're doing a revaluation of the entire city of Wausau and also the entire city of Schofield. I guess there's a lot of things that, I can get into. I don't know, I don't want to bore you to death with the assessment process. I mean, I'd be happy to talk with anybody if they want to come in and learn more about assessments. Everything that we do is statute-driven. We track everything. We have about 30 different neighborhoods in the city of Wausau. We follow all the sales that happen within there. It's those sales that happen within each of these neighborhoods that determine the value for those folks that live there. So we trying to compare apples with apples. And, because everything, when somebody buys a property, it's always location, location, location. That's the biggest thing. And that's how we track on valuation in regards to the sales that happen in the city of Wausau. And we have, maps of those neighborhoods. We have historically where the sales occurred and what's the dollars per square foot for this neighborhood, what is the average sale price for this neighborhood. You can look at your own neighborhood, what is the average sale price, or what's the average size of the house, what's the average age of the house. We know all that information. It's all data that we collect and analyze every year. So.
So when you reval this year, do you think our alder people should be expecting phone calls? Do you get complaints? Just trying to prep everyone here.
Sure. Anytime a revaluation, it's a edgy time because of taxes, of course. Everybody feels that if their property value goes up, okay, that they're going to be paying more in taxes. That's not necessarily true. Historically, what has happened when we've increased value in the city of Wausau, now we've done increased in 2004 was a reval year, 2007 was a reval year, 2015 was a reval, and now 2020. Historically, what has happened is that anything that we do as a department, we raise value or we lower value, like we did in 15, we lower value. The mill rate has the opposite effect of what we do. If budgets stayed the same, you have 5 taxing identities that levy against the city, against the assessment. Everybody pays on the assessment. They don't pay on the estimated fair market value. So with the levy, I guess I lost my train of thought here. The proration. So what happens is that if all the 5 taxing identities, the state of Wisconsin, the technical college, the city of Wausau, the Wausau School District, and the state of Wisconsin, if their budget stayed the same, which they always never do, but if they stayed the same, it would be an opposite effect. So if I raise the values in the city of Wausau 18%, that mill rate is going to have an opposite direction and go down 18%. So what I normally tell people is if your change of assessment notice is more than the standard or the citywide increase in value, you more than likely would see an increase in your taxes. If it is less than that, you'd probably see a decrease in taxes. So the benchmark is really what are we raising as a community? And what I can say for 2020, we are raising approximately 18%. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Becky, I have one.
Oh, hang
I
on.
guess if,
Hang on, Lisa has a question. Okay.
Sure.
and maybe more of a suggestion, I guess if Rick could just talk for a second too about board of review and, the timeline and what that process looks like, because so often we get asked by residents what they should do if they don't agree with their assessment or if they want to dispute their value. And so when you're outside of board of review, they certainly can interact with the department, but there's a set process also if they wish to debate
Right.
that fact. So Rick, could you talk about that a little bit for us?
Sure. Every year stands on its own merit, okay, as far as the assessments go. So anybody can object to their value every single year if they choose. Our statutory lien date is January 1st, so we react to things that at the close of January 1st is when assessments are closed. Anything that happens after that date, so in other words, a house burns to the ground on January 2nd, come December, they'll get a tax bill as if that house stood the entire year. That's just the way the law is. And so in a reval year, or a non-reval year, we send out a property assessment change notices to all properties that have $100 change. And in the notice, it explains what your old assessment was and what your new assessment is. It also explains when the open book time is. Now typically, in the city, we have a week's worth of open book in a non-reval year, and we have 2 weeks of open book in a reval year. And this is ample amount of time for folks to, if they have questions about their notice, to contact us. And, if we have a mistake in regards to the assessment record, that's the time to correct it. Also, on that notice, it has a board of review date. Now, the board of review date is a citizens, I'm going to call it a citizens court. We have 5 members, or citizens of the city of Wausau, that listen to oral testimony based on the evidence of why the assessment is incorrect, and the assessor then gives oral testimony on why it is correct. So once those dates or deadlines of the board of review meet each year, those assessments are pretty much etched in stone unless there is a publiable error. I added another 0 that a mistake, something happened on that aspect. So the deadlines are very important. Now typically in a non-reval year, and historically the city of Wausau has had board of review in the month of June and July, one of those 2 months. In a reval year, they've been pushed to August, September, because there's a little bit more work that's involved in a reval year. So there's ample amount of time in regards to when the notices go out. In a reval year, there's going to be over 30 days between the notices being mailed out and the first day of the board of review. And our open book is going to be right after those notices are mailed, and we're going to be open for 2 weeks. And plus, we can see folks after that. You got to understand that statutorily, open book is 2 hours. That's it. So doesn't mean that within this 30-day window, once open book is over with, that we don't want to talk to anybody. I mean, it's just the official time, and this is the time to get things settled if we need to. Okay.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, we have to pause the meeting. Currently, Ms. Ryan is trying to get on WebEx, and so we need to pause to help her. We will be back as soon as possible.